Good
Hello.
morning,
Morning.
Akuzuru. Hi. Hi, Akuzuru. How are you?
I am very well, my dear. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad we got this chance to connect. Thank you for being so persistent and incentivizing me to make this happen.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure. And just to let you know, it's been raining here for hours heavily. So I hope it does not affect the recording, the interview, and whatnot.
Well, the Wi Fi perhaps, but I think we'll be able to hear you well enough.
Yeah. I mean, I can hear you clearly, so there's that background rain sound, So,
Well,
but we've been
I
having a lot
actually,
of rain in the last couple of days.
it's the rainy season there now, correct?
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Yes. Post carnival cleansing showers.
Exactly.
Well, I was really looking forward to this discussion. You saw my reservations. I didn't want to listen to the last conversation you had with Yao for
I
that
know.
very,
I know. Yeah.
because I mean, he went really, really deep, and he has such a grasp of the tradition of what you're working on that it was really intimidating.
Okay.
But however, However, having said that, I mean, we also have a conversation that goes back on and off for years. So we can just,
Exactly. Hmm.
yeah, I want to start first with your name. So tell me how you got that name, Akuzuru.
Well, the name came about during a period of me doing some self-searching many years ago. I mean, I was about to leave Trinidad and embark on a new journey in my life. I had just
Mm-hmm.
got back from London a few months back at the time. This
Mm-hmm.
was in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on my way to Nigeria to pick up a scholarship to do my master's studies in textile design.
Mm-hmm.
And and I just felt I wanted to have an African name, a name of African origin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did my research and came up with Akuzuru, which I felt had a very deep meaning. It means there is enough wealth and abundance to share around. It's from the Igbo language, from the Igbo
Mm-hmm.
peoples,
Mm-hmm.
and that is in eastern Nigeria.
Right,
You know,
right.
yeah. And the Igbo peoples are known as a very steadfast, resilient, serious people. Very industrious. So
Mm-hmm.
I like being associated with that kind of thing. So that's why I chose that name.
And
And
go ahead.
no, that's okay. Yeah, you can carry
No,
on.
go ahead. If you have more, could continue. I didn't want to
No,
interrupt.
well, that's why I chose that name,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted to, and that is the beginning of a new phase in my life with regards to the use of Akuzuru as my official name. It's official,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also the name I use artistically. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's a name that it's also a very unique name because even amongst the Igbo peoples,
Mm-hmm.
the name Akuzuru is rarely used. People use Aku and as a prefix to other, you know what I mean, letters in the
Mm-hmm.
name or whatever. But the name Akuzuru itself, Aku itself means wealth, you know.
Right.
So
Well, my
the word,
next.
yeah. So the word Aku and then the other names or words attached to it, you hear that in amongst Igbos. But Akuzuru
Mhm.
is a kind of a rare name, so I kind of like that it's very unique, you
Yes,
know.
yes. Even among the people where it came from.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
would you say your artistic life had begun before the name change or after the name change? I mean, what's interesting for me is the level of academic education you have had, which
Right.
has not watered down the spiritual aspects of the work. This is for
Right.
me, I think most artists have that challenge. So tell me, when do you think you considered yourself an artist?
I think I consider myself an artist. Um, I would say when I was around 15, 16 years old, actually, because I've
Yeah.
always been in the practice. I've always been, um, my mother always told me that I was always performing something in the house. I was always very dramatic in a way.
Mhm.
Even though I'm a shy, quiet person at the same time, but
Mhm.
when I'm ready to express myself, I do that performatively. And
Right.
so so I would say like around in my mid-teen years,
Mhm.
I started I started doing a lot of drawings of human bodies. I wanted to perfect drawing the human body, and drawing is something I always excelled in doing,
Mhm.
you know. So I continued doing these exercises and also started designing clothing. So if I went to these secondary school bazaars, which there was a lot of it, it was quite prevalent at the time,
Mhm.
different high school bazaars around Trinidad at a certain time of the year. And and my mother was always sewing. You know, she comes from a generation of mothers back in the day when they made their children's school uniforms and stuff. You know,
Yeah. Yes.
and um, and so she used to make our school uniforms because I'm the eldest of four children,
Mhm.
and I would design the clothes. I wouldn't physically make it, but I would help her to make it. I would design the clothes that I would love to wear at the bazaar, and she would assist me in making these clothes. You know, and they were
Right.
always, and I always wanted to stand out. That's the thing. So I think that that wanting to stand out because you wanted to push boundaries is it's the beginnings of me becoming an artist or being an artist in that sense.
Yes. And how would you describe your art, starting then or now? Is it, it's obviously evolved, but are the roots of it the same? The performance, the textiles?
Well,
I'm not
yes.
sure.
I mean, my art. I mean, the thing is, I did dance studies. I did ballet and I
Mm-hmm.
did contemporary dance as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I studied classical music. I studied the steel pan. I participated in steel pan festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So the musical aspect is, or what I call to what I do in my work today, sound vibrations,
Mm-hmm.
and also designing fashions. Um, what was I saying? Yes, designing the clothing, the
And the
music,
performance. Mm-hmm.
and doing the performative. I was in secondary school. I participated in the carnival. That was the only
Mm-hmm.
carnival I participated in physically in a band in Trinidad. But I participated in Notting Hill Carnival for several years
Mm-hmm.
during my life in England,
Mm-hmm.
and I designed a band. There was a time I designed a band uh,
Mm-hmm.
at the Notting Hill Carnival as well. You know, so
Yeah.
so my work has its roots with dance and music, movement,
Mm-hmm.
and making these explorations and investigations into the potential of the human spirit, the potential of the spirit within, and taking it to another level. And of course, as the years passed, I
Mm-hmm.
got more spiritual with my work.
Mm-hmm.
And become more interested in transcending, you know, human consciousness, and
Mm-hmm.
people becoming more aware of becoming more deeply self-aware, so to speak.
Yes.
So
Well, I recently thought about the correlations because you said, performance, dance, music, the costumes, and now the spirituality.
right,
The roots that you have in, I guess, West Africa
yes,
have that in their spiritual traditions, all of those factors that make up your work.
yes. I was in Nigeria. I mean, I mean, London was important as well. I mean, I'll get to Africa, but just to
Mm-hmm.
mention that I was in London for 6 years. I studied fashion there actually,
Mm-hmm.
and what was interesting in London is that there was a major what I call fashion art movement going on because there were so many interesting designers, whether
Mm-hmm.
they're individuals or whether they are you know couples or whether it's a group, but more individual people who
Mm-hmm.
they were so philosophical. They were these amazing. I felt that British fashion was very avant garde, very different, push boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 80s we're talking about. So 80s, they had the punk going on, the punk culture and all of that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But in terms of fashion, for me, it was a major. That was the art movement for me. That was my visual art, you know.
Yes.
And so I was very much into that, very much a part of that. And then I got the scholarship to go to Nigeria and study textiles.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when I became closer to the culture of, because I wanted to go to Nigeria, and the scholarship came up. And then I studied at one of the preeminent schools in West Africa, which is the Avant Garde University. And I studied, did my master's in textile art.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an interesting time for me because I got into textiles, yes, and that in itself is a very sophisticated culture. Within Nigeria itself, there's so many different cultures within the textile tradition. But
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, you had the culture of the people, the different people, and the intonation of languages. So you have
Mm-hmm.
these intertwinings, of cultures in Nigeria, which was very, very interesting for me
Yes.
as I developed my work. And then I also designed the clothing for clientele. I was known in Nigeria as a designer. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was well known in Nigeria. I designed clothing, and I did. And these were people who are accepted me doing some things that are different. These are not conservative outputs I made. I made very original type garments.
Mm-hmm.
And and then of course I witnessed Fela Kuti in his shrine. I visited the shrine of Fela Kuti
Mm-hmm.
just before he died, and I witnessed him perform live in his shrine. And this is really
Wow.
quite iconic and very important as well,
Wow.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of very, very pivotal things have happened in Nigeria. Nigeria was a pivotal point in my life as an
Mm-hmm.
artist.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the landscape itself. I started getting more into nature, looking at the natural world, looking at these
Mm-hmm.
termite mounds when you make these long journeys from one state to the next. And these took 10 hours. And in those 10 hours, the landscapes change. And you look at these 10-foot tall ant hills as we go along,
Mm-hmm.
the weather patterns, and you look at the insects, these giant insects that would hit, like if you're on the road at night, making these long journeys, these huge insects would
Yeah.
be getting squashed on the windscreen of your car. You have to keep putting on your windshield to remove all the mess from the. And it was really quite dramatic,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
you're seeing animals, monkeys crossing some of the roads and the highways and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
it's such a compact um, situation of so many different things, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what marinated what I was to become. It's performative, it's architectural, it's sculptural within
Mm-hmm.
the installation, it's tableau vivant,
Mm-hmm.
it's all of these things, sound experiments, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, you know. So
And I want to go back to the idea of spirituality, and because this is a big thing for me right now, the divine feminine, and the role of shaman or medium in the role of an artist. Can you tell me a little bit about that as well,
right.
as it relates to nature, perhaps?
Well, yes. Well, nature, of course, in many cultures of the world, is represented as being feminine because you talk about Mother Earth, you talk
Mm-hmm.
about Mother the universe. So
Mm-hmm.
Mother factors heavily in many cultures with regards to, because in ancient times, in many cultures, people were closer to the earth, they were closer to the cosmos, they lived according
Mm-hmm.
to the patterning of the cosmos and what have you in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I felt it was very important to reinscribe that into people's consciousness that even though you live this artificial life, this urban life and stuff like that, and you want people to respect the earth and to respect that you are a spirit having a human experience and you are living within a cosmic situation. This is a cosmology, which is an
Mm-hmm.
expansive um, paradigm of
Mhm.
situations, of stars,
Mhm.
and this femininity, which you pointed out is represented in Yoruba culture, is very real,
Mhm.
and it has factored into my work, where I have developed a series of I've always considered my expressions to be fertility works,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and within, if I'm doing installation works, I always develop these figures or drawings. It could be in the form of a drawing, which becomes a sculpture, and
Mhm.
I call that entity that I have in my sculptures, sculptural installations, which overlooks the entire installation. I call it the Magwayapa,
Mhm.
and these Magwayapas were developed, in fact, from my experience in Trinidad, as well as looking at Mama and Guayap, which is a commingling of, a coming together of people to do something positive for the community. So I
Mhm.
put Mama and Guayap,
Mhm.
together to bring to so that you have this coinage that I brought about called Maguayapa. You know, so
Yes.
that for me is important in my installations, which I still continue to this day, and of course in the pieces that I make, in my performatives, my performances.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of my performances will have actual female
Mhm. Mhm.
co-performers if
Mhm.
they're performing with me, I'll have my female co-performers, and I wanted to generate feminine power. This
Mhm.
feminine power is an engine, so this feminine power,
Mhm.
through the gestures and also through the actual body pieces that they would wear in the
Right.
performance.
Mhm.
In these performative constructions, these
And
actionisms,
those,
as I call it.
right,
Yeah.
the actionisms with the AK.
Yes, exactly. So
Right.
that uses that is bringing my name, the Akuzuru. So that's why I use the AK dash. I mean, action actually is German or should I call it Austrian? But that's the way they
Mhm.
spell action. But I wanted to
Right.
make my name a part of that. So that's why I put the AK dash, TIONS, or
Right.
actionism kind of thing,
It's kind of like a
something like
trademark as well. Yes.
kind of like a trademark.
And then I wanted to ask, the white that you use very often in the performances and which you wear all the time, it's the color of the initiate. And again, a lot of Western African traditions.
Yes.
What does it symbolize for you, this wearing of white?
Well, the wearing of the white, um, it symbolizes a new beginning to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it also represents to me, it instills in me a sense of stillness, a sense of silence within the self, and a centeredness to
Mm-hmm.
not forget who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's a reverberation of vibrations from this white
Mm-hmm.
that I feel it expands out into the actual cosmos itself. So, of
Mm-hmm.
course, in wearing the white and the kind of construction, the way I constructed these white garments that I wear,
Mm-hmm.
um, it gets reactions from people, but the intention is not an egotistic intention. It's more of
Mm-hmm.
it's a spiritual intention.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that it impacts upon people, which is a good thing because the whole idea, I think, performance and everyday gestures in the things that I wear and how I wear it, it's ongoing, whether it's in the
Yes.
work or whether it's everyday life, you know,
Yes.
it's ongoing. So it's all
Yeah.
connected.
It's not a
Yeah.
costume. It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wear it
Yeah.
as a costume at all. There's no costuming, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's part of a vibratory of patterning that
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to connect and reverberate throughout the entire world, and expand out into the galaxies.
Yes.
So, so the work is just not stationed in here materially. It
Mm-hmm.
transcends and transmutes, and transform. It's transformative
Right.
in its intention, you know. So.
So, what are you working on now? And I have a pressing question, which is the complete opposite of all of these things. But for me, just thinking from an art dealer perspective, what
Right.
exactly do you sell? I mean, let's say you're going to have a show in a gallery and it's a performance and you have some drawings or stuff like that. What would the person showing you outside of a museum context have to give to, let's say, a collector?
Well, the thing about it is, I, money is a sort of, or the exchange of money. I would like to think of it as an exchange of, what can I say? An exchange of
Energy.
understandings, of
Yeah.
energy and
Mm-hmm.
understandings,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and because I live in the material world,
Mm-hmm.
um, money comes into the play. But if it's not, I would not say my work is not commercial. But
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of drawings in my installations, and if
Mm-hmm.
there are dealers who are interested in um, doing a reproduction of my performances,
Mm-hmm.
there will have to be a certain amount of agreement with regards to the reproduction of that, or the showing of a film, or the reproduction of an actual physical performance. So
Right.
that is where the monetary aspect will come in, and then the drawings and photographs. That is
Mm-hmm.
also that is also a monetary exchange as well too,
Yeah.
with
Yes.
an understanding of the energy that would be involved in showing the work. It's not that here I have this here, buy it and that's it. It will have to be an agreement where if you are showing the work, it will have to be shown in a certain kind of way, in a certain
Mm-hmm.
kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's again a vibratory, it's a vibration, and you want
Mm-hmm.
it to be in its right context, in the
Mm-hmm.
right kind of space, kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
yes,
Absolutely.
there is a possibility, yes, to acquire through monetary means my certain pieces of my work, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's in the form of my sculptural um, performative pieces
Mm-hmm.
or as sculptures, because that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on now. Actually, I was working on a solo exhibition, a
Mm-hmm.
major solo that was supposed to come up at the Central Bank Museum in
Mm-hmm.
2020, and that got postponed because of
Mm-hmm.
the current situation that has afflicted the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still working on that,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is meant to be. I don't want to give away the title and all of that,
Yeah.
but
No.
it's the
Don't.
work
Don't.
that is performative, and it also is an installation connection as well too, with
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you.
several sculptural works. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you, what are you currently working on? So I guess that would have been the exhibition that you were
yes,
planning for 2020.
the exhibition, and also I'm working on a series of drawings. I've just completed
Mm-hmm.
300 drawings, and I did another 39 drawings as well, and I want to start another series of drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So what this 1 year of non-disturbance, I call it, and isolatory obligations,
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten more into myself, and there's humongous amount of drawing works and
Mm-hmm.
planning for future projects. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
So
it's funny. I was also going to ask you, what is your point of view about this whole pandemic? But I think you answered it right there
yeah, yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean,
So,
in terms of what you see happening for yourself within Trinidad and outside, what would you say are your goals for the unknown future? I mean, what would you like to do after this project that you have lined up in Trinidad?
um, what I would love to do is um, continue my ethology projects, which I started in India back in
Mm-hmm.
2008.
Mm-hmm.
I want to continue these projects globally,
Mm-hmm.
um, and this ethology project consists of making interventions into nature
Mm-hmm.
and into different topographical situations in the natural world, or,
Mm-hmm.
globally. So this is something that hopefully when, you know, if, traveling becomes normalized again, whatever that means, or when it
Mm-hmm.
becomes possible,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to continue that project.
Mm-hmm.
One in India was very, very successful. It was a very productive time
Mm-hmm.
in India. So this is something I would like to to
Work on.
continue to work
Yes.
on and to make again. I've done a lot of stuff all over the in many countries thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very blessed to have been able to share my work with populations from other cultures, with people, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in different institutions and what have you.
Well, was India a part of a residency, or how did you do that project on your own, or in the context of a gallery, or how did that work?
Well, I was awarded, I was given an award by the Commonwealth Foundation
Mm-hmm.
back in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and I used this award to do two residency projects
Mm-hmm.
in India, meaning two different residency locations in the northern
Mm-hmm.
part in Delhi and in the
Mm-hmm.
southern part in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
And so these were two residencies which I used to produce this major project called Orthology. So I did this
Mm-hmm.
Orthology project through doing this residency and produced a
Mm-hmm.
book that compiles the work. So and of course I also worked with a gallery too. I did a solo presentation at a gallery in Bangalore, Sumuka Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first exhibition in India at Sumuka Gallery in Bangalore,
Yes.
and I did some really amazing interventions in the nature in the outskirts of Bangalore in
Mm-hmm.
these amazing landscapes,
Yes.
uh, and I did particularly I did this work at within, and I mean within a banyan tree, a giant banyan tree, which is 400 years old and 1 acre large,
Mm-hmm.
and to this day continues to grow. So they've actually fenced off around this banyan tree and made it into a park. It's that big, you know.
Wow.
So I did a performative intervention
Mm-hmm.
um, but I had two co-workers
Mm-hmm.
with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these two women, and these two women, I might add, are women who are in the sex industry. These are what they call sex workers in
Mm-hmm.
India,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt it was important to have them because I wanted to show that these are, despite what they do and what people might think of such women or men
Mm-hmm.
who make a living through this, they're
Mm-hmm.
actually protected by an institution. So I actually approached this organization with a
Mm-hmm.
proposal to work with two women from the industry because this organization protects them. You see,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
so so professionally, I approached them with a proposal, and I met these two ladies. I was
Mm-hmm.
introduced to these two women,
Mm-hmm.
and they did a wonderful job, and they really liked working with me because I think it's their first time working with an artist on a,
Mm-hmm.
and the work I do is quite meditative. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted the way that I had them perform in the work for these series of photographs I did was for
Mm-hmm.
them to. I shrouded their whole bodies
Mm-hmm.
and placed them in various situations in the nature,
Mm-hmm.
within the banyan tree and out in the nature as well, amongst
Mm-hmm.
the rocks and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's for them to get to go into themselves, to 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 take them away from the rigors of what they do, and to see
Mm-hmm.
themselves as special, unique beings, as
Yes.
spiritual, you know,
Mm.
who have
Absolutely.
amazing potentials. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So this was a healing piece, and I call these healing chambers, but I call healing chambers. You know,
So beautiful. So beautiful. So
thank
beautiful.
you. Yeah.
Well,
So
I
this
have
is
some
what
ideas
I
from
do.
you, but for you, but I'll give you these ideas again when I get off the call because as you speak, I'm just thinking of some opportunities that might be interesting. I mean, I really am. appreciative of your work. I wish I could show you how appreciative I am. I really think this work is so, so, so important. And I mean, I even wonder like how many people in Trinidad actually know about what you're doing. I know there's a select few, the art circle, that know your work, but how
There's
many
a
people
select
they,
few.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
I
a
was
select.
hoping that this exhibition, sorry to cut you, huh, like that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but people, I mean, back in the, let me see, um, I would say in the early 2000s, and even from 1990, was it 92? From 92, I had an exhibition at the Acarella, what was then the Acarella Gallery, which is now today Medulla, which is run by
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey McLean. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had a solo exhibition at the Acarella Galleries.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, there was this bicentennial exhibition where there was a big Caribbean exhibition, very important, huge Caribbean exhibition,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was talking about the effects of the Christopher Columbus element within the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hosted by a French curator, a French dealer. And
Mm-hmm.
he actually bought two drawings from that because my exhibition was on during the time of that big Caribbean show. So in a
Mm-hmm.
way, it was kind of part of that in a kind of a way. And he actually
Yeah.
bought a couple of drawings from my exhibition at the Acarella back in
Mm-hmm.
the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing. And then also, and then of course, I was in Nigeria for another 7 years. So another 7 year absence from Trinidad. But during the
Yes.
early 2000s, I had a solo at the National Museum.
Mm-hmm.
So it was written about in the Guardian in a big way. And there were a series of other things that happened in Trinidad. And of course, I've been traveling a lot as well internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
international residencies and presentations and
Mm-hmm.
invitations. And what I wanted, I was hoping that doing this exhibition, I thought it was important to do like, a kind of a major show here.
Mm-hmm.
And the central bank thing came up, and I was hoping that through that presentation at the central bank, more people in Trinidad will actually familiarize themselves or
With
refamiliarize themselves with my work, you
right.
know,
Right.
so
Well, the good thing is, Trinidadian artists in general are getting some opportunities in the world. I know what's his name? Che Loveless just had a solo show at a gallery
yes,
that has spaces in LA and Seoul, Korea.
right.
Um, so I mean, I'll do what I can here as well to start to figure out more opportunities in this. I have one collector who basically says, like, America is not the place to really find great art. He's like, the economic pressures here just kill any artistic, any
Okay,
real art uh, inclinations. But
right, yeah, yeah.
I think you can have both if you really try. So I will see if I come up with some opportunities that might fit what you're working on.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, you know.
Yeah, and
Because
and then,
I did my debut at show in the United States. It wouldn't be the first time I would be exhibiting there, but I did
hmm,
something at the Perez Art Museum, Miami. That's the PAM,
yes,
the Perez Art Museum, Miami. Yes, and that was a major performance work.
hmm,
I even had two horses. I got two horses to be part of that particular performative work as well. It was a 2 day, meaning that it was held over 2 days in two different
hmm,
presents that connected into one show. And that was part of the Caribbean Crossroads of the World exhibition, which was a
yes,
touring exhibition.
hmm, yes,
So, and plus that was the first commissioned performance work by any artist at that particular museum,
yes.
which I did there, you
And
know.
the museum, Brooklyn Museum, did a Caribbean exhibition a while ago, and I didn't really know your work at that time, and I don't think they knew it either. Otherwise, they would have
No,
surely put you in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they really knew. But it's all right,
No.
It's everything in its time.
And it's time, exactly.
Yeah.
It gives me the space to expand my visions even more without too much art
Distraction.
market disturbances and things like that. You know? So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I see some artists from the Caribbean who do really well in the market, and then I see
yes,
others who kind of, I wouldn't say it gets watered down, but it's not as challenging as it was when you first saw it.
right, right,
So,
right. Yeah,
I mean, it's like each guess each guy has or girl has her path.
yeah, you know. I mean, the artistic practice, for me, it's a dedication, it's a constant,
Mm-hmm.
and it demands a certain amount of introspection, um,
Yes.
and honesty in the person that is doing the work. And I do appreciate these works from artists who really push the boundaries of what it means to be in existence. I use the term transdisciplinary to describe my practice and process,
Mm-hmm.
which connotes an engagement with several intertwined disciplines,
Mm-hmm.
and the resulting works, from which are then transmuted, transforming, and transcended from the very genres itself that have birthed these material expressions.
Yes,
This is about going beyond the material and
absolutely.
utilizing ritual precepts, which are in fact vibrations in tandem with the frequency of the earth and the wider cosmos, you know?
Yes.
So, and then again, through the chamber of healing or the healing chambers, the aim is for the engaging participant to explore anew, one's existence and what this existence means. So it goes beyond the self and beyond consciousness itself. And and of course, you're looking at, and then it goes into the purity of existence, beyond even
Yeah.
the consciousness, you know.
And certainly beyond the material.
Yeah, you know. So,
Well, I think with that, I mean, is there anything else you want to add? Because I think with that, it's a good note to end.
um, I don't know what else to add. I mean, it's just that the work is, it's all encompassing. It's what I call a total art. My art is a
Mm-hmm.
total art,
Mm-hmm.
and and that in itself, has its own challenges and energies that goes along with doing this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was quite gratifying when when you work on a project, when you work on something, and what is the reason for doing these projects, for doing these artworks?
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself this question all the time. But
Yes.
it's like an author writing a book. It's like someone writing a book,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like a sage person in the midst of millions of people, and you're giving this deep spiritual lecture. So I see my art or my work in tandem with this kind of activity,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of deep, reverberating and reverent activity. I mean, I'm not egotistically placing myself as this leader of people and whatnot, you know, but as a shaman would do, or the sage would do, or you know, or the yogi would do, or whatnot.
Yes.
It's all about the investigation into the self ultimately,
Yes.
and
Yes.
trying to understand what that means,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping that these shutdowns and lockdowns and isolations that are going on, I hope it 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 gives people another chance, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say at this point in time to look within and to absorb and embrace love and peace, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Well, I think actually that was the good ending right there. Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope I see you soon, one way or another. I
yes,
think Trinidad is still closed to travel, is it?
yes, the borders are still closed at the moment. There is
I
another
see.
lockdown, because it seems that cases have spiked, locally.
Interesting.
Cases
Okay.
have spiked, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what's happening currently. So I look forward to seeing you soon as well. And I thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Yeah, it
It's been
was
a
so
pleasure.
good for me.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm glad you appreciate. Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, take care and we'll talk soon, okay? I'll send you a message after we're done.
All right. Thanks so much.
Okay.
You
Take
take
care.
care.
Have a great day.
You
Bye,
too. Bye.
Akuzuru.
Bye
Bye.
bye.